the actual moonshot was the Apollo 11 mission that brought man to the moon. It was beautiful, inspirational, poetic, and of course, changed the world. So if you can forward 40 years forward into the future, which is now basically, that mission has inspired a way of thinking, and that's called moonshot thinking. So the underlying ethos behind moonshot thinking is to think 10 times instead of 10% when you go and try to change things. And what I really like about it is it represents a very disciplined and precise method when you're going out to solve huge problems. So what makes up a moonshot? Well, it boils down to three things, right? So the first part of a moonshot is a huge problem. And this huge problem should be affecting millions around the world. So in healthcare, if you think about it, most of our problems are due to disease. And things like cancer, stroke, heart disease affect millions around the world. And that brings me on to the next part of the moonshot equation, which is the radical solution. And this radical solution should be at the edge of sci-fi. So if you think about chemotherapy delivery, for example, it's not delivered very well. Patients feel very, very ill after going through chemotherapy. And what some people are working on is to deliver chemotherapy using ultrasound and microbubbles, which are very, very small bubbles. And that sounds a little bit crazy, but that is actually what some people are working on. And the last part of Moonshot is the breakthrough technology. And this breakthrough technology is very important because it makes you sound not really crazy when you go and try to solve a huge problem. And together, all three of it will give you the Moonshot. So in healthcare, I think there are two moonshots that particularly stand out to me and they truly inspire me. They illustrate why it's so important to think big in medicine, especially when trying to solve huge problems. And the first of it would be the Human Genome Project. So the Human Genome Project, what they aim to do was to actually map the entire human genome. And from that project, we kind of know a little bit more about DNA. And through that information, we can now diagnose, treat, and manage diseases slightly better than what we can before, like 20 years ago. And so the next moonshot of medicine that I find inspiring is the Global Burden of Disease study. And it's actually led by Dr. Chris Murray, pictured over here, and his team. And they aim to actually index the global burden of disease. So what they wanted to do was, it took like 20 years and like $100 million to fund this project. And it was, what they wanted to do was to track and quantify every death, disease, and disability of everyone here on Earth. So they aim to answer questions like, so what's the biggest killer in healthcare nowadays? Or is actually having disability worse than having a certain condition? So they actually answered that, and they found out that things like having lower back pain or even breaking a leg can be worse for you sometimes because they are taking away some healthy days from your life. So what these two moonshots in medicine illustrate is the fundamental curiosity and wonder that humans have that continue to push humanity forward, using science and technology to bring almost magical solutions to life. Makes me wonder at what humans have accomplished and can continue accomplishing. And in healthcare, a lot of the time we like to focus on what we cannot do instead of what we can. We like to say no instead of finding ways to say yes. And that is quite scary to me because if you think about it, we might not be able to go out there and solve the big problems that affect us. And that is our nightmare scenario, that we do not have what it takes to go and solve all these problems. So, as I was interested in the human body, I decided to study medicine, of course, and that's why I'm here today. And at the same time, I've been recently more interested in technology. So things like the internet and mobile computing have led me to learn how to code. They've taught me how to build Android apps. This is something I've been working on. I've learned how to build websites. I've been starting a blog. And I've been doing these things to develop my way of moonshot thinking. And that has led me to numerous opportunities. So right now I'm student ambassador for Doctorpreneurs, a group of medical entrepreneurs, and I took part in a hackathon last year. So I know that a lot of us think that solving big problems, we shouldn't be really bothered by it because there's a part of you that thinks it's impossible. But I believe moonshot thinking is choosing to be bothered by it. And what I really urge you is to go back and get out of that bubble. I know medics and sometimes myself included, are really trapped in the bubble of medicine. And that's great in certain ways, but also find ways to integrate other parts and speak to other people from other disciplines to integrate how they approach problems to solving problems in healthcare. So basically have the courage to try, because I believe that's how the greatest things have happened. And recently, President Barack Obama has announced a Moonshot attempt at curing cancer, spearheaded by his Vice President, Joe Biden. And I think that shows us how important it is to think big in healthcare to solve our big problems. So, all those years ago, when President Kennedy said the US was going to send man to the moon, the best part about the whole thing was he basically said, look, we don't know how to build a rocket, right? We don't know what is on the moon and what awaits us there, but we have to keep doing this because it pushes humanity forward. And that really sets me on fire, and I think it should set everyone on fire, because if we could do that, what couldn't we do?